Welcome to episode 55 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary, with Kristen
and Catherine, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, Catherine.
So, it's another Would You Rather.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we had a tiny bit of discussion before we started recording that it would have been really funny to actually get.
Yeah.
Because you picked this question and you thought that your answer was very easy.
I did. It's not now.
Oh.
So this question is, would you rather read exclusively only books you've already read, or only be allowed to read new books? No more rereads ever.
Mm-hmm. And as we know for you, you're the queen of rereads because you don't like not knowing what happens in books.
Yeah.
And I can 100% talk you up in it because I'm like, Nora Roberts, you want to reread a reread at least once a month of her.
Yeah, it's true.
And ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, any of these books that we've read in this podcast are rereads. But the issue is you can't read any new Sarah J Maas books.
No.
So there's no more Feyre and Rhys story. And for me, my favorite of her series is Complete. So
right. So
I don't even care as much.
It's almost an easier decision for you, a little bit. Although you would never be able to try and suss out some more sexy vampire,
which is
smut.
Oh my God. So this is unrelated. But I was on Instagram the other day and there's a modification you can do where you can get vampire teeth. So apparently dentists do it, but I think it's only in the States. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I can ask my dentist, but they
oh, they make the modification on your teeth?
Yeah. So they put the stuff that they put in if you chip a tooth and they artificially put tooth on, they make your teeth longer and then file them down to the pointy shape. And I'm like, Jeff, would you still love me if I got vampire fangs? And he's like, yes, but what? And then I showed him videos on Instagram of vampire. Anyway, unrelated, but amazing.
What's the consensus?
If I could find somebody to do them, I would 100% get them done. Just little small dainty ones that are just so adorable, but they don't pop out of my face. I just
right. Yeah, no, I completely see that. I would support you in that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I totally would.
Yes. So I still can't answer this question. I'm very much of two minds. Because I love rereads. I love them. When I'm sick, I read The Hating Game. Anytime I'm sick, I read that because there's just one scene in it that makes me happy because she's sick in it and he comforts her and it's just cute and I love it. And it's my happy place when I'm sick. Also, the Throne of Glass series. Can you imagine never reading that again? Because I can't. So, but then I'm only 30 redacted years old. So
I love that answer. I'm also 30 redacted years old.
So if I live to be 100, then am I giving up on 60 redacted years of books that are going to be published?
It's true. What if we never but at the same time, can you imagine never reading Pride and Prejudice again?
I cannot. That almost, you know what? I think you kind of got me there. Because that almost is but I can still watch the movie.
Yes.
So,
and I know your favorite, the 1995 BBC series.
I don't hate it. It's just there are some awkward moments, but I would watch it. It's so
also
true.
exactly true to the books.
Exactly. So I could watch that easily and just imagine that it's Matthew McFadyen and Keira Knightley, and I don't even need to read the book anymore. I think I would have to pick only allowed new books, which would be convenient because we could have conversations with each other.
Yeah, so that's sort of what we decided is like I would pick the
Yes.
only books I've read before. You would pick only new books, and then we would live vicariously through each other.
Yeah. We would have to have like our podcast would just be us, like you talking about a book that I wanted you to reread and me talking about a new book so that we could like.
Yeah. And if it worst comes to worst, I can Wikipedia, I can see spoilers. I do it anyway. So like,
Yeah. Which I hate that. So I don't think I'd be able to Wikipedia a new book or see spoilers because it would just hurt my soul. So I think I'd have to go new. But also,
I know. It's such a hard question though.
it is. It's so hard.
But at the same time, I feel like you would expose yourself to so many books that you've forgotten about. Like if you could only read books you've read before,
yes.
Like I feel like they would have to provide a Rolodex.
Well, exactly, because I have
of
no
like
idea.
Books in your brain that you've read before. And I feel like it would legit like open you up to, oh my God, I totally forgot I read this book. And then you could reread it and like you're almost experiencing it for the first time all over again.
Well, it's like when I reread Blood and Chocolate and I was like, holy shit, I thought
terrible.
I loved this. What the fuck is wrong with me? I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, it would be, I almost wish I could look at all the books that I'd like read before. And then like I started rereading one recently that I read in school, Dark Garden by Margaret Buffy. And I don't remember it. I just remember liking it. And it's like my book that if we're downstairs and reading, I'll read that. So I'm getting through it very, very slowly. But I'm like, I don't remember any of this at all.
You were a big fan of VC Andrews, correct?
Yeah, for a hot second.
Yeah. I remember, I think that was like one of the first interactions that we had is you lent me some VC Andrews books. When we first started becoming friends.
Yeah.
And I thought they were great. Even though we were like in our teens / maybe, I'm pretty sure teens.
Yeah, I was 18 when I started.
Maybe 17. maybe early 20s for me, but I feel like I was 19. And I just remember the VC Andrews. And now like my opinion of like not my opinion, but when I think of VC Andrews, I automatically think of you.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's sweet. And like I liked them, but it's not something that I've read in a very long time because I do want romance in my books now. And they're not really.
Yeah, but some of them are.
Some of them do have some romance, but some of them are very twisted and like not okay.
I guess the ones that you gave to me, it was like forbidden, like I'm a werewolf and she's like I'm a witch, we can't be together but we love each other anyway, or something like that. So it was like,
no, that's fair.
But yeah, so yeah, I just feel like there's so many books, and I literally just remembered that I read some of the VC Andrews stuff, like, but I just feel like there's so many books that you forget that you've read.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And like there's so many books that I loved at the time that I would love to reread, but I'm so distracted by new stuff or more recent rereads that there's value to both answers, and I don't think I would be able to pick one.
No. Listen, they're only going to get harder from here.
That's not good.
Would you rather questions are only going to get harder.
Yeah. Well, it was hard last week too. Everything is hard.
Yeah.
So obviously, just a heads up, everyone, we're not a spoiler-free zone and things might get a little saucy.
Yeah. So this week we are reading chapters 21 to 33 of Crown of Midnight. Last week we read a little bit more about Celaena's journey, we'll say. She gets a little bit more info from Archer on the quote unquote rebels in Rifthold. She has some lovely moments with Chaol of a lot of staring into each other's eyes. That's a little bit weird.
I hate it.
Dorian says that he's giving her up. He's finally moving on like a dozen times.
15 times, yeah. Jesus, sir.
And Celaena tells Nehemia everything and is finally happy. She has no more secrets from her friend. But we are not convinced that Nehemia does not have secrets from her.
And we're not 100% convinced that Celaena's told her all of her secrets either.
No. Yes.
I get, but I do understand what you're saying. But I'm also like,
yeah,
she lies too.
She does lie.
Nothing is great. Everyone's awful.
Whenever you say that, I think of like if you've seen the Lego movie, the very first one.
Everything is awesome.
The theme song is "Everything is Awesome." So when you say "Everything is awful," I immediately sing that in my head. Everything is awful.
Yes,
even though that's not actually the words, but
I know, but I sing that too. Everything is awful.
Glad we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we ended last week, not really with a cliffhanger, I would say, but with Chaol looking for Celaena. She was late for their run. He's not happy about it. He's like, oh, she's lazy and doesn't want to come outside because it's chilly. Which both of us were like, ugh, Chaol, you jackass.
Mm-hmm.
And only for him to go to her room to look for her to find Nehemia there. And turns out it is the 10th anniversary of her parents' death. So she's gone for the day.
Yeah. Fair.
So it wasn't really like a cliffhanger, but sort of the last moment at the end of last week was Nehemia telling Chaol, it's the 10th anniversary of her parents' death. She's probably not here. And him sort of being like, it's sort of like a shock moment. So moving on to this week. Chaol obviously he doesn't know all the details of her parents' death, but obviously he does know a little bit. Like he knows how she woke up and like he, knows that she was covered in blood and all that. So like he did know that, but he had no idea that she was only 8 when they died. And he's also assuming that she witnessed unimaginable horrors because he's also assuming that her parents were just citizens of Terrasen. Like, he has no idea who they are at this point. So he's assuming that maybe she witnessed something really dark and terrible after her parents were killed. Like, he has no idea the depth of her trauma, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so he sort of is asking her, like, how do you know that she's not? He was asking Nehemia, how is it you know that this is why she's not here? And Nehemia mentions that she wrote a note for her saying she'd be gone for the day. And Chaol asked, like, did she tell you about her parents in that note? And Nehemia said no, but some things you hear with your ears and others you hear with your heart. So, like, according to Nehemia and Chaol in this whole scene, like, Nehemia doesn't actually have confirmation that this is why she's gone. She just says that she just knows in her heart that this is what happened and this is why she's gone. And like, I feel like this is not, I love the sentiment, but like, I just don't feel like it's accurate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, some things you hear with your ears and others you hear with your heart. Like, come on. I feel like that's just a non-way of saying
I know things that you don't
yeah.
know. I agree.
Anyway, so obviously she says she's going to be gone the whole day. And Chaol sort of like realizes, like, obviously she's not going to want to spend the day in the castle of the man who slaughtered her family.
Which I think it's like a bit late to realize that. Like,
Fuck. Oh, God.
Frug.
I was trying to say frig and fuck at the same
I know,
time.
I loved it. It was so good. It was so good.
New word.
Fruck. It's like truck, but it's fuck.
Anyway, so like, it's really, dude, like, you're only now realizing this. Like, it wouldn't cross your mind before now to think that maybe she's uncomfortable working for the man who slaughtered her parents. Like, come on. I just feel
Yeah.
like that's like, I feel like he's so wrapped up in his own shit.
Very true.
Anyway, I feel like I would never get off this point if I didn't just decide to move on.
That's fair.
So we move over to Celaena's POV, and she's in the woods above Rifthold with Fleetfoot. And she's remembering how she spent the anniversary last year. So last year she was in Endovier, and in Throne of Glass, we learned and spoke about that one day she snapped and killed a whole bunch of guards and was running, and Endovier has like this big wall around it, and anybody who's tried to escape have never ever managed to make it to the wall. And like, they've made it like 10 feet away. Like, making it to the wall is a huge accomplishment. So that day that she snapped, she killed a whole bunch of guards, and she managed to almost touch the wall, which was like a huge feat in Endovier history. Like, nobody has ever made it that far or that close to escape, and she made it that day. Mm-hmm. So turns out that the anniversary last year, this was the day that she's calling it a snap. Like, she snapped that day. Mm-hmm. Because obviously she was stuck inside, she couldn't get out. And she also says that, like, she feels like the word snapped was too human of an emotion, and that's not actually how she felt. She said she felt like this cold, hopeless rage that took hold of her. And like, I get it. Like, if you are used to being out and around and like studying things and being able to go wherever you want, and then all of a sudden being trapped in one location and not even being able to honor your family, I can imagine why she would snap.
Yes, 100%. And like, I do think her saying snapped is too human a word of it is also a little bit of a bunny passing through.
It is I never even realized that. Thank you. Yeah, a little bit of a bunny. I didn't even pick up. Do you see what I mean though? Like, there's so many bunnies.
There's so many bunnies. Like, overrun with bunnies. They're fucking like mad. Which is what bunnies do.
Yeah. Anyway, so she remembers that day sort of through flashback. So we're getting like sort of a firsthand look at that day. She says that she killed a lot of men that day. First, the overseer on her line, and that made her free herself from her shackles that bound her to the rest of the slaves. So, like, I don't even think they got unmanacled from their chains, like, ever. I think they were constantly attached to another line of slaves, and like,
that's how it
even
seems.
in sleep they slept where they mined. Like, they had to mine, and then they were given so many hours to sleep, and then they were given probably a meal of stale bread, and then they had to go back to mining, and like, they just mined all day. She said too, like, that she didn't even release any of the other slaves because she knew there was no point. Like, there was no way any of them would live. So she just left them. And then she killed 2 more guards before going and killing the 4 overseers in their office. And then she sort of mentions that she went after them because she saw them drag actually a young Ilwe woman behind a building and essentially gang rape her before slitting her throat and killing her. And I guess nobody batted an eye, no one cared. So she said that even though she could have grabbed the weapons that the guards had, she wanted to kill those overseers with her pickaxe because it would be more painful.
Yeah.
And I like, it's really like vicious, but I secretly love it.
Yeah,
If
which
that
is like a lot of the things I think about her in general. Like, she's very vicious.
But like in that instance, they deserve it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So like I'm here for this moment.
And there's a lot of other moments in the book where she's very vicious that they also deserve it. So
Yeah.
and by book I mean series. But
yes. So she says that she was sort of like lying in wait for this moment. Like she didn't give them any trouble. She didn't like pick any fights or anything like that to sort of like make them forget who she was. Like she is Adderlin's assassin. And she wanted them to forget that so that they were a little bit, I don't know if vulnerable is the word, but like
kind of, I think it is, yeah.
you
Because
think?
like just they forgot who she is. And I think that they never should have.
No.
I guess you're right. I don't know if vulnerable's the word, but it kind of works.
Yeah. So anyway, so she killed all 4 of them. Then she killed 2 more guards on her way out of the cave. And she said that like she still didn't release anybody because in the end she wasn't trying to escape, which is a huge sort of I guess like a reveal moment, I guess, like us realizing that this entire time we've thought that this big like elaborate escape plan was an escape plan, but now she's actually revealing, well, it wasn't. She was just trying to get them to kill her, really.
Yeah. Because she had been there for a while. Like, it's not like she was just there for a few days. So, like, I can see why she was probably just done.
And well, and like she said in the first book, that normally a slave lasts like 3 months in Endovir.
Mhm.
She was there for like a year. So she
Yeah.
knew that somebody, whether it was the king, whether it was Arobin Hamel, like somebody wanted her kept alive.
Yeah.
So she was just done because like she was suffering. And unlike, not saying unlike the rest of the slaves, but like they all had to end their suffering that was sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
She did not.
Yeah.
So she sort of said that she kept killing and killing when she was out in the courtyard. She was just running and killing. And she knew that, I guess in this, she says it was the king that ordered them not to kill her, which I'm sort of suspect about. Like, it was the king, really? Even though she's saying it was the king?
I think we realize later it's not the king.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so apparently she thinks the king ordered them not to kill her, but she was sort of hoping if she killed enough of the guards, they would just do it anyway.
Which is probably fair.
Definitely fair.
You'd think they would.
Yeah. So she was like running out through the courtyard, and she was surrounded by 40 guards, and she just kept lashing out and like killing soldier after guard after guard. And she was just lashing out to try and reach the wall and like just touch the wall. And before, she was like a fingertip away, like an inch away from it before they knocked her out. And like it's funny because when Dorian and Chaol go to get her, this was sort of her claim to fame.
Yeah.
They were like, oh my God, she killed so many guards. She made it this close to the wall. Nobody's ever done that before. She's so skilled and talented and blah, blah, blah. But she's telling it in such a different way. Like, she's telling it as like a broken person who like just wants it to be over, and it's just not for her.
Yeah.
So
sad.
It's this scene, I will like, it's so brutal to read. Like, you get through it quite quickly just because it is so like, oh my God, I have to keep reading to figure out what's happening. But it's devastating to read about, and knowing like how much she has suffered in her life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on back to the present, she gets back to the castle after midnight and like is super wrecked emotionally. And Chaol is like just sitting there waiting for her in her room. And just sort of like, isn't that a little bit creepy?
100%.
Like, dude, go home. Did he not work today? Did he just wait for her in her room?
Yeah, I think that's all he did. And then he wonders why the king asks other people for information.
Anyway, so he describes that she floats through the room like almost like a ghost. She essentially goes in the room, like doesn't even really acknowledge him, and just goes right into her bathroom to like get ready for bed. And he says he doesn't know what to say, but he wants to keep her company, claiming that she needs it. But like, does she? Or does he?
I think he does. Everything is about him.
Because like, to me it seems like he just feels guilty for being loyal to a king that would be like such a dick.
Yeah.
Like, to me this entire scene seems like he's trying to like, I don't know what other word to say, but like to assuage his own guilt.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's trying to make himself feel better and be like, oh, I'm not a terrible person, so I'm gonna make her feel better. But like, dude, you literally serve the person that caused her so much trouble. Like,
Yeah.
I just the one thing about Chaol that bothers me is like, he sees that the king is an ass. And he literally chooses to ignore it and serve him anyway.
Yes.
And to me, that's weird. Like, how can you claim to be a good and honorable person and just overlook the shit that the person you serve does? It just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, anyway, he brought her a piece of chocolate cake to try and make her feel better. I mean,
it's not awful.
No, I would appreciate a piece of cake if I was feeling upset and sad.
Yeah.
But I'll say embrace first. So they hug, right? It's completely innocent. And he sort of, as they're hugging, he thinks about how he could give her a distraction. And my immediate thought when I read this was, ew. Like, she's literally mourning her family, and all you can think about is giving her a distraction through sex.
Your dick. Yeah.
Right? Like, in my mind, and I don't know, man, maybe I'm reading the situation wrong, but in my head, sex is the last thing she needs. Like, she doesn't need or want sex at the moment. She wants somebody to comfort her that her family is dead. So, like, chill the fuck out.
Yes. Agreed.
Anyway, he tells himself that he's going to, quote unquote, swallow the need, so much so that he chokes on it.
Hope he chokes harder.
Like, I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I really don't. I honestly don't. Apart from the fact that he's a super creep and I hate it. So he is about to actually kiss her when she tells him that she doesn't know if she should be ashamed that she wants to hold him today of all days, or be grateful that even though it was awful, it brought her to him.
Blech. Sorry. What? Our whole lives are based on bringing us to the person?
I'm sorry, but like she would have met him one way or another, regardless of if her parents were dead, I think.
Well, yes.
If they were
100%.
meant to be together, they would have met. So like, but I sort of get it, like her feeling that way. Like, I don't know whether I should be ashamed because I just I like hugging you, or whether I should be grateful that like this trauma has brought us together. Like, I sort of see why she would feel bad about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he doesn't even know how to respond to that. Like, he doesn't even have a response.
Yeah.
So I guess we skip to Dorian's POV, and he is in the library looking up his family tree to see if there is any magic in his line. He said that like the magic has actually died out of his line for years and years and years. So he's been looking looking at his family trees, and he sees that the last real fae with magic that was bred into his line was actually Princess Celaena, who was the daughter of Brannon, who is Terrasen's first king, who we have met in ghost form.
True.
His ancestor, like Dorian's ancestor, was Gavin, who is a mortal, aka human prince, who won the war against the Dark Lord Erewhon. He came out of the fight with Celaena, so Brandon gave him the territory of Adarlan. And I just I sort of don't really understand this connection. Like, I don't understand the politics of this. So Brandon was Terrasen's first king, meaning he created the country of Terrasen.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean he carved out a piece of Terrasen and gave it to Gavin as Adarlan?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know either. I don't think we ever really get that.
And he said he was a mortal prince. So does that mean that he owned a territory other than Adarlan before? Like, he was a descendant, if he was a prince of another territory? If so, which one?
Yeah.
And like, were him and Celaena a thing before they went into this wet war? Or did their romance come from the war? Were they thrust together and like fell in love on the battlefield? So many unanswered questions in this one little scene.
I don't know. First king of, yeah, he must. I guess his dad was like, cut this shit up, give it to people.
Yeah. So he browsed the Galathinius line, which is Elena's line and Brannon's line, and said that it was like a powerhouse of a magic line.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, they had really powerful magic users in that family. And he said that all other countries lived in fear of the day that the lords of Terrasen would come to claim other people's land. But like, that's not something Terrasen ever did.
Yeah.
They always kept the peace, which sounds so idyllic. Like,
yes, it's almost like we're supposed to love Terrasen more than,
which we automatically
anything.
do.
Well, I know, but it's very, very idyllic. That's the right word.
Yeah, like, there's no fucking way a country existed and was super powerful and never tried to empower, like, take over another country. Yeah. I can't see it ever happening. So Dorian thinks, based off of these sort of thoughts about Terrasen and how peaceful of a country it was, that his father should have also kept the peace, but obviously he did not.
Yeah.
And he also thought about what would have become of Aelin Galathinius if she had lived. So we've already heard from Celaena that Aelin Galathynius is dead. She was the princess of Terrasin. And he says that he actually remembers meeting her as a child. Apparently her older cousin beat him up for spilling tea on her dress. And now that same cousin, Aedion Ashriver, is one of the king, like the current, like Dorian's father's most trusted generals. And Dorian says he gets the impression that Aedion doesn't like him. And Aedion actually does come back in future books, so he does become one of our sort of, not central, like I guess you could say a central character. There's a lot more than meets the eye with Aedion.
Yes.
So he starts thinking about Chaol and Celaena and how he wasn't invited to Chaol's birthday celebration, and that,
which is what we talked about last week. Ugh. It went so wrong so fast.
But like, yeah, I feel like Chaol should have invited him to like a one-on-one sort of dudes morning.
I do think that was an issue that Chaol made.
Like, obviously, if Celaena is planning like a romantic dinner, I don't think she should have invited Dorian.
No.
But I think it was up to Chaol to be like, hey, dude, for my birthday, I want to hang out a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he wasn't invited to the birthday celebration. This makes him really upset all of a sudden. He's mad that he wasn't invited. Like, he's a little 5-year-old girl, and he's mad he wasn't invited to the party. And all of a sudden, books fly off the shelves. So I'm like, magic?
What does that mean?
Is this magic because of his emotions? Right? So, yeah. I mean, I would assume. I don't know what else it would be. Like, I don't think the books are enchanted.
Yeah. Well, they could be, I guess.
I mean, I don't think we're at Hogwarts.
What? The staircases, though.
Dorian runs away from the library after he like makes all the books fly off the shelf. And he sort of realizes at this point that he can't tell anyone what's happening, and he can't trust anyone with his like secret that he's potentially using magic. And like, obviously he's terrified because magic is illegal, and he's supposed to be like
the big cheese.
I guess, yeah, like he is supposed to be, he's not like directly in charge, obviously, but like he will eventually be in charge, and he has to uphold the law. So like the fact that he is using magic is automatically breaking the law. So like that doesn't sit well with him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's thinking to himself, like, he can't trust anybody with the secret. I feel like he could tell Nehemia and it would be okay. But I don't think he thinks, like, he obviously doesn't feel that way.
But I think this has already happened this week. I think he was going to tell Nehemia. And then when she wasn't around, he maybe thought better of it because he was like, she'll use it against me and then use me as a pawn. And you know what? She might have.
Yeah, maybe.
To like be like, point. You get your father to stop slaving. Yeah, or that's true. I'll tell him that you're doing magic.
I guess, but she did tell him, like, when the time came, she would be there for him.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It was a ploy all along.
I feel like I don't see her as manipulative as you maybe do, because I only read book 6 one time.
Yeah. That's fair.
I'm forgetting a ton of plot that I'm sure she's involved in.
Yes.
So
I agree with that.
So I think I'm seeing her a little bit more innocently than you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Apart from like her one big gesture that she does. Yes. I'm forgetting everything else.
Yeah. And it's a whole thing because it's like him or her. So it's like if he had have gone to her, she still would have had ulterior motives for sure.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't present ulterior.
But I don't think she would have directly put him in danger.
But like she in this book put Celaena in danger of herself because of her big action.
Yeah, I guess. But like, I don't know. I just
You like her.
Yeah, I kind of do. And like, I guess I'm trying to see the good in her.
Which is so funny because that's not like you for characters most of
I
the time.
know.
And like, once you get to the 6th book, are you going to lose your shit?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I very well could.
Yeah.
But again, like, I remember the really big events, but I don't remember the small things.
Well, there's just so much. There's so much.
In
This
reality,
series.
in 5 or 6. Like,
yeah. I don't know the numbers, to be honest.
okay, Empire of Storms.
Is 5.
Yeah.
6? Okay, so
5.
it's in Empire of Storms. Empire
Okay,
of
well,
Storms.
I'm currently listening.
Okay.
So maybe I'll get there when I get there.
I think you will get there when you get there. God. But yeah, so maybe next week when we are talking about this book again, you might have different feelings about it.
I very well might. Who knows? Because right now, all I remember is the big event.
Mm-hmm.
But it was done for the greater good. Is what I remember.
Yes.
So I could be very wrong. I am wrong.
It's not. It is done for the greater good, but I don't think that's good enough.
Valid point. Anyway, so besides the fact, so he doesn't feel like he can trust anyone with his secret, but he remembers that Baba Yellowlegs, I guess he remembers that Celaena was like wary about her, so like understands that she is an actual Iron Teeth witch. Iron Teeth, Iron Tooth, Iron Teeth.
Iron teeth, yeah.
Yeah.
They say
teeth,
that. Yeah.
Multiple teeth are iron. It's not just one tooth.
Well, unless they only have one left.
Anyway, so he thinks maybe she could give him some answers, considering the last time they came upon each other, she did not mention or acknowledge the fact that he was a prince. So in his mind, he can ask her questions, maybe hypothetically, without being in danger of her figuring out who he is, which is bullshit.
Him and Celaena with their hypothetical questions to a fucking witch.
Yeah. Like,
so smart.
Right? But anyway, so he's decided he's going to go talk to Iron Teeth Witch Baba Yellowlegs. How terrible is that to have that as your name?
Yeah, and why?
Why are her legs yellow?
I think they actually are, though, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And why is her name Baba?
Well, that might mean something, I guess.
Anyway, so he's decided he's going to talk to Baba Yellowlegs, and then we get a POV change, and we're back with Celaena. She is nervous about her plans with Chaol. So it is his birthday, and they have dinner plans. And I'm not going to lie, like, when she said that they just had dinner plans, I was sort of disappointed. Because, like, she made this big deal about, like, planning it. And, like, she's been planning it for weeks. And, you know, like, Dorian can't be there. And, like, I get why they're having, like, a romantic dinner for 2. Mm-hmm. But, like, it just, the way she sort of made it, like, the way she talked about it earlier made it seem like there was going to be a lot more to it than just dinner.
Yeah. So I think it's 2 things. Like, there's a lot to the dinner, but then also she's 19. She's never really been on a date. Like, this is a grand gesture.
I suppose.
That's my take on it.
I guess.
But I do get what you're saying. Like, it's just dinner. She didn't even cook for her.
No. So, so she's nervous about her dinner plans. She said she even got a babysitter for Fleetfoot. I guess Fleetfoot is spending the night with Nehemia. I don't understand why. Like, it's a dog.
when she goes out to kill people, does she get a babysitter for Fleetfoot? Like, I
Yes.
don't.
Yes.
But it's not mentioned.
No, but I'm pretty sure she does. Like, I'm pretty sure either Dorian or Chaol or Nehemia like watch Fleetfoot. Can't leave Fleetfoot in a room for weeks on
No,
end.
no. But I'm like, it's just they're not gone for the night though. They're only gone for like
I know.
supper. Did she get a fucking babysitter when she went out with Archer?
Good question.
Also, I guess Philippa would also like check on her rooms every now and then. I feel like Philippa and the dog would get along great.
I
Also,
agree.
can we take a moment to appreciate, this is completely unrelated, but appreciate the like, is ladies in waiting the right term?
I think it's her lady's maid.
Ladies maid in Sarah J Maas's books, like in this book and in Akhtar, like they are
Great.
great.
Yeah.
Badasses. Love them.
All of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so she takes Chaol to she takes him like all the way across town to an apothecary. And initially it's sort of like, well, why are we here? Why are we at this apothecary? But then she brings him upstairs to the roof, and it's like an enclosed greenhouse. So there's like a ton of plants, and it's very like, I'm gonna say tropical and like herbal, and like, it's inside but it's outside, and just like, I guess sort of romantic, like you're having dinner in a greenhouse. And then she's decorated it with a ton of little like fairy lights and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I just like, does he love gardens? I just don't get the relevance. Is it just that like, oh, it's a pretty place and she's like, that'll do, donkey?
Yeah, I think it's just meant to be like a pretty spot that is private. Like, it's not a restaurant, right? If it was a restaurant, there'd be a ton of people around. And he doesn't seem to be a very big people person.
Fair.
So, anyway, she also hired a chef to cook all of his favorite dishes. And he sort of says like internally that like he's impressed that she knew all of his favorite dishes, because they didn't talk about it. So it was just stuff that she mentioned. And he was like, how do you even know? Like, how did you notice? And she's like, easy, because when we have that on the menu, you scarf it down twice as fast. Which is cute.
It is cute.
He's like really grateful for the event. I'm pretty sure she also had like a musician play a little bit.
I don't remember.
I don't really either, but it seems like something she would do.
Yeah, well, she loves music. We talked about this.
Yeah. So he's like super grateful, and he says that nobody has thrown him a birthday party since he was like a small child.
Which is sad.
Very sad.
But like, what's the crown's prince supposed to throw him a birthday party? Like,
yes.
He's not going to, and I think we have to give him like a little grace there.
I guess. Anyway, I do think like Dorian probably does things for him. I also don't know if I would call this a party.
No, it's not.
It's a dinner.
It's an intimate get together. Sorry.
Not a party. It's an intimate get together.
Yeah. Candace party. Candace party.
If anybody has watched Phineas and Ferb, you would get that reference.
Or listen to our solitaire episodes where we also referenced this. Because we apparently love Phineas and Ferb.
It's very good. It was very good. It was actually rated in like the top 5 kids cartoons made for adult. Like, no. Kids cartoons that adults can also find enjoyment in.
Yeah. Like, we watch it in my house and we have no children.
Yeah. It's great.
Like, yeah. Highly recommend.
Anyway, so I guess they're having their moments and it's all lovey-dovey, and she decides to tell him at this point that she hasn't actually assassinated anyone, and he is furioso.
Yeah.
He
Which,
is
like,
mad, bro.
she's telling everyone her fucking secrets. I was like so shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, I feel like they've passed this step, right? Like they're passing this point of no return of this like romantic relationship, and I just feel like she
Honesty is
has,
key.
yeah, like she has to tell him.
Yes. The only issue is, I think there's many issues, but one of the issues is like his job is literally to the
Yeah.
king first and foremost. So it's like, it's unfortunate for him to know this. He'd
Yeah.
probably just rather not know.
Yeah.
But then it also like, it annoyed me that he was mad because I was like, how can you be mad at her for not killing people when you lost your shit about killing one person?
Yeah. But also the fact that like they've all been like Chaol, Dorian, Nehemia, like whenever she comes back from any sort of mission, they all look at her like differently. And we spoke at length about this last week.
Preach.
So like, but then she tells him, "Sorry, I haven't actually been killing anybody." He should be like, "Oh, thank goodness," considering I've really been questioning your character choice, like your character
Yeah.
for killing people. And then she's like, "Sorry, I'm not killing everyone." And he's like, "What? You're
Yeah.
not killing anybody? That's the worst." It's like, dude, this is what you wanted.
And then later on, it's another complete 180. So it's like, he can't even get his head on his shoulders.
No. Anyway, so he sort of like says to her, he's like, "Listen, when the king finds out, and he will find out, she will be killed for deceiving him." And he also says like, "The king's probably going to make me kill you because we're friends." And she's like, "I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be his butcher killing innocent people whose only crimes are refusing to bow to the king and like sheltering slaves." So she's like, "I'm not going to do it."
Yeah. And it just shows that he either is so naive that he doesn't realize anything,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess it's maybe three things, or he's so like, I don't know what the word is, but like blinded by the king's will or whatever that he doesn't see what is right,
I think
or
there's,
he just doesn't care about innocent people. Like,
well,
and I don't think it's the third one.
no, I feel like it's a mix of both. I feel like he is so like wrapped up in his loyalty for the king
Mm-hmm.
that he can't imagine the king doing something bad.
Which is wild.
Yeah. But at the same time, like he's lived in this castle for years and years. He's like the king has always been the way he is, right? So it's not like, I don't know, it's just he this is the only example of kingship he has.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Anyway, so um she says that she's getting a bunch more information from Archer, and she says that she's going to use that to barter with the king for a shorter contract, which I don't think is a great idea, but
No, me
whatever.
either.
And then she's just going to peace out and be long gone, and like this like causes him to pause. He's like, "What? You're going to leave?" Like, and in my head, I'm like, dude, of course she's going to leave. Like, what are you thinking? She's a
Yeah,
slave right now. She is bound by a contract. She is not free. So, yes, obviously, when she gets free, she's going to peace out.
exactly.
Anyway, he then drops a bomb and he tells her that he is going to go with her. And she sort of is like, "Oh my God, no, I can't let you give up your country and your position that you worked so hard for, and blah, blah, blah." But he sort of says like he would be a fool to let her go alone. Like they haven't even like developed a relationship yet, and he's already like, "I'll give up my entire life for you." And I'm
Does
just
he
like,
say? Does he say it like that? He'd be a fool to let her go
yeah,
alone.
yeah, that's
Oh, because
exactly what he
if
says.
he said he'd be a fool to let her go,
Mm.
period,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, oh, that's sweet. But now I think it's not.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. Anyway, so they kiss.
No.
Because he just like said that he was going to give up everything for her, which she really appreciated, I guess. And she says that the kiss obliterated her. That's a weighty, like that is severe for a kiss. It obliterated you. And
Never had a kiss like that. Where's my kiss?
I know, right? Maybe Chaol's like good at stuff we didn't expect.
Kissing?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then she says she also felt like she found half of herself that she didn't even know was missing. So like, whoa. Like this is a weighty kiss. Like this kiss is very meaningful.
Yes. It does make me wonder if Sarah J Maas, like, if when she wrote this book, she
Changed plans.
knew what, yeah, exactly that.
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't either.
But in all fairness, like I just wonder if maybe like he's giving her what she needs at the time.
Yeah.
And like maybe this is like maybe he is Celaena's other half.
Yeah. At this exact moment.
Yeah.
Because Sam was when she was a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think that's true. It just knowing what happens later on, I'm like, this petty love triangle that we have to wade through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth it. It's fucking worth
it. And in fairness, this is the last book we have to deal with it.
It's true.
Anyway, so they make out for a while, and then I guess they finish dinner, and then they neck in the carriage on the way back to the castle, and then they go back to her room, and I guess this is why she got a babysitter for Fleetfoot, so that they could be alone in her room.
Oh, that makes sense. Sorry. You don't want a dog there watching you?
I guess not. Like licking your face to wake you up in the middle of the night to like take you out to pee.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, so she doesn't say, but she thinks that she knows she wants to have sex because she's been a virgin up to this point. She says she thinks that she waited with Sam, and I'm thinking in my head, I hope she fucking waited with Sam because she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't want to wait anymore. She was worried like anything could happen at any moment, and she knew that she didn't want to wait.
Which is fair.
There were no details to the sex.
There were not.
Which is uncharacteristic of SJM, but at the same time, this is like beginning SJM. This is like a big toe dip in the pool SJM at this point. So like we have no details.
Yeah.
There was a quote that
which I loved because I love the virgin trope.
Yeah. That she gave him everything she had. Blech.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I hate it. I just hate the whole virgin thing. Like, I'm fine with there not being actual details of the sex when someone's a virgin. Like, I actually kind of prefer that, as we heard when we did A Touch of Darkness. But I don't know. It was too much. Everything she had, she's a fucking badass assassin. She has so much more than he can handle, let alone giving it to him. And then I don't think he deserves it. So.
And like, so what? He popped her hymen.
Exactly.
Woohoo!
Good job. That took so much work.
Yeah. Hopefully he was good at it. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next morning, they chat, and they sort of decide to keep their relationship a secret from the king, and from Dorian, too. And then they just have sex again.
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, it was a decently cute scene. Like, they're giggling and they're like teasing each other and posturing and all that jazz. So, like, it's decently cute, but it's
they were happy, which is
yeah,
sweet.
yes. And it's probably like one of the happiest moments that we've seen Celaena at this point, and she deserves to be happy.
She does. Keeping it from Dorian, I don't know if that's a smart idea. That's going to blow up in someone's face, I think.
Yeah.
But onward and upward.
Yeah. Anyway, so POV change at this point because they don't want us in on their like
sexy
morning romp. So we're back in Dorian's POV, and he is at the carnival to talk to Baba Yellow Legs. So he gives her money to answer questions and to sort of keep his privacy, and she sort of admits that she knows he's a lord of the castle, but nonetheless she still agrees to answer his questions. Very accommodating of her.
Exactly.
He asks her like if she's really a witch, and we sort of get like a little bit of like backstory at this point on the origin of witches. So apparently they're the result of Valg demons stealing fae and breeding with them. And I guess the example here is Lord Erewhon's army. So witches tend to have equally long lifespans as fae because they're the result of demon fae offspring. And that's also, I guess, why they still have magic. Or not still, but why they also have magic. He asks, so Dorian asks her if magic is truly gone. And she sort of says that, like, his kind of magic is gone, but ancient forms of magic can still work. And then he asks her if it's possible for one person to have magic. And she says no. And I feel like he's being an idiot here.
100%.
Like, 1,000. Hypothetical, can one person have magic? And it's like, dude, we all know you're asking on behalf of yourself.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And he's not subtle about it at all.
No. And like, knowing the future books, she probably has an idea of why magic disappeared. So she's probably like extra suspicious.
Yeah.
Not very smart.
No. He then asks that if one person did have magic, how it could be possible. And her answer is that nobody knows how magic disappeared or why. And as of right now, it's just on their continent. Like, all the other continents in the world still have magic. So she sort of tells him, like, you should figure out why magic is gone. Like, why is it gone and where did it go? So they say goodbye. He leaves. He's like, okay, cool, thanks. And he runs. Right. He runs into Roland on his way back. Cousin Roland. Cousin Roland, so like I guess Dorian says he's been nice to him the past few days. So that means that Roland has been backing Dorian up in council meetings. So like whenever Dorian disagrees with something, Roland will also disagree with it, and vice versa. Like they're like acting like a team, which is like good, great Roland. Good job. Dorian is sort of like, he doesn't know if Roland is like spying on him or if he's actually trying to be friends, but he's just sort of like, whatever, I'll just keep trying to be a nice person. And that's the end of it. He's like, okay, let's go hang out. And then they go on. POV change again to Celaena. She is tailing a bunch of guys that Archer sort of gave her the names of. So he sent her information and she's tailing them. And they are all fleeing. They're all like getting on boats and leaving. And she's like, fuck. Why are they all leaving? Like, who tipped them off? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Archer sort of comes up behind her and says, like, sorry, but I had to warn them. And he says that he essentially told on her. Like, he told somebody high up in the organization that's sort of like a rebellion that their lives were in danger, so they had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And Celaena's pissed.
Of course.
She's like, dude, like, we had a deal that you would give me these people's names so that I could look into them so that you would live.
Mm-hmm. Which is fair. I don't think he's taking her very seriously.
I don't either. I feel like she needs to, like, give him a surface, like a flesh wound.
That's fair. Mar the goods.
Yeah. Like, just to show that she's not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so obviously she's pissed, and she tells Archer that like, the fact that she is sparing his life, it's all predicated on him giving her information. And he was like, oh, I know, but, like, I still had to do it. I still had to save them. And I'm like, is this his attempt at being noble?
No, I think they're probably paying him. That's what I think is happening. He's like, hey, I got a lot of information. And they're like, here, have some money.
Okay.
That's
makes sense.
My only thought about it. Why? Yeah.
So she essentially told him that she needs new names or she's going to cut his head off. I love it.
Yeah. Same.
She starts to think through this whole, like, we mentioned before that there's this organization that is claiming ties and contact with Aelin Galathynius, who is the last surviving the last supposed member of the court of Terrasin. So there's, like you said, there is a group that thinks that they have her, or not that they have her, but that she's leading them. And Celaena thinks that's ridiculous.
It's very Anastasia.
It is very Anastasia. And then she's thinking, well, they obviously don't have Aelin Galathynius because she's dead. But maybe there are some high-ranking nobles that managed to survive. And maybe they have the resources that they've built up over the past 10 years. Like, maybe they have the resources to be able to stand up to Aderlin. And she's thinking, like, if that's the case, like, maybe I don't have to risk my life. Maybe I don't have to risk Chaol and Nehemia's life. Like, maybe I could just, like, sit back and let things unfold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she's thinking of. She's also thinking that it's been 4 days since Chaol's birthday, and him and Celaena are apparently spending every night together, and every afternoon, and every morning.
Oh, good.
Woo! Anyway, I thought that was funny. Like, they're having a lot of sex.
Yeah, early relationship sex is
good for her.
Yeah. She deserves to be happy. She deserves to be happy.
1,000,000%. I am not debating that at all.
No. I just mean in bed.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good for her. Again,
I can't imagine that it would not be.
Yeah, but
first time, I don't know. I hope it is good for her. She doesn't. She might just be happy that he's happy. And then, like, where are we leading the future children if that's what they believe?
Anyway, so apparently he's in a meeting dreaming about her. He said that he tried to be gentle with her that first night, but he could tell that she winced and had tears in her eyes. And I just say, ew.
I know, but, like, the first time you have sex it doesn't feel great. I don't know.
But it's not going to make you cry.
No.
I don't remember that.
No, that's true. I also was not near tears.
No.
And he didn't even know. So like it can't be.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. I think they're playing it up a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she shows up at his meeting and she's like, the king needs you right away. But then when he gets out and like halfway down the hall, she's like, no, he doesn't. And it was essentially just a ruse to get him alone. So they find an empty broom closet and have sex again. Lovely.
Yeah.
So later on, she tells Nehemia about it. I just said they're a bunch of gossip bags in my mind. Like,
I know,
what a bunch of gossip bags.
We do the same thing.
I know. But do you know what else I thought of? Remember how in Touch of Darkness, how Persephone was like, you're my best friend, but I'm not going to tell you anything about the sex I'm having.
Yeah.
And we were like, they're not friends.
Yeah. And now we're like, oh, you're telling Nehemia everything about your sex life?
Exactly. Like, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, bunch of gossip bags. I love it. She sort of says it like for the first time in a long time, she is happy. Which is so... I like it, but Nehemia is about to burst her bubble. So...
I feel like it's on fucking purpose.
Yeah.
Bitch.
So Nehemia is sort of like, she does like go along with her. She's not like, oh my God, so I had sex in a closet. And she's like, oh, my people are dying. Like she...
No, I know. No, she's doing her best. I understand that.
Like she does humor her. She's like, oh my God, in a closet? Like, you scoundrels, you know, like
Yeah.
She does like humor her. But you know, she reveals that she's stressed about her kingdom, and she says she feels like she should be back there in Ilwe, but she also feels like she needs to be here in Adarlan for a reason. And she's all stressed about the fact that she can't be in two places at once.
Yeah.
And then she says like she's worried that the king is planning to kill everyone in Calicula, because Duke Parrington is apparently leaving for the city of it's not a city, it's a fortress called Morath, which is close to Calicula, and it's just sort of like makes it an easy position to attack Calicula. And this sort of starts like an argument, another one between Nehemia and Celaena. So Nehemia wants her help to free Ilwe, but Celaena is like afraid of the king.
Yeah.
She's like, listen, if you try and rebel, you're going to die. Like, he will slaughter every single person that you love.
Yeah.
And like, I understand where her fear is coming from, and I think that it is valid. I don't know. I do feel like her fear is valid, but at the same time, I wish she wouldn't.
I know, but she's also doing as much as she can in her position to go against the king's will, and she wants to keep a low radar. I feel like she's trying to make sure that he doesn't realize that she's not actually killing people. So I'm like, I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. Nehemia thinks that Celaena is just being selfish, and like, yeah, but she's also been like tortured and enslaved and has been essentially like since childhood has been you know, like trained to be this ruthless assassin. So like just I feel like she should get a break.
Yeah.
So Nehemia sort of thinks that she's being selfish, but she says like she witnessed the king literally destroy Terrasin, which was the most powerful kingdom that existed. So like if he can do that, like what else can he do? He must be able to do anything. She also thinks that like she's just one person, which I actually think is quite dangerous to think in your mind, because if you're ever only one person, nothing gets done.
Yeah, no, that is completely fair.
But Nehemia sort of says that like, no, like you had the blessed mark, like the blessed mark on your forehead the day of the duel that we saw in the end of book 1. And that means she was chosen by Elena. And that makes her God's blessed.
Which she didn't know.
No.
Nobody knew what that meant.
No, but we know now. And she says that she wants Celaena to fight for what's right, which, I mean, valid point.
Yeah.
She also says, like, she keeps going. This is a big old rant that obviously there's something dark and sinister, like, wrong with the king. But she thought that Celaena was taking steps to rebellion because she refused to kill the people on his hit list. But she says, I thought that it was like you rebelling and finally like taking control, but actually, like it's just self-preservation. And Celaena says, like, no, I'm not going to help you. Like, this is folly, this is suicide, so I'm not going to help you. And they are in a really vicious fight at this point because Nehemia calls her a coward.
Yeah, it's not great.
No. And Celaena replies that when Nehemia's people are lying dead on the ground, don't come crying to her.
Not a great response either.
No. I'm just so frustrated.
It's fair.
I want them to understand each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so later on, I guess after Nehemia has left, the princess is talking to the queen. So we're in the tomb at this point, and the queen we're referring to is Elena. They also they don't like come out and explicitly say that it's Elena and Nehemia, but we just sort of imply it due to context.
Exactly.
So the queen says that one of them has to break. And the princess says that the prince, who we're assuming is Dorian, isn't ready. It has to be her. The queen asks something of the princess, and the princess responds that she's ready, but she won't understand. And nothing is going to pull her back from the edge. Interesting aside here.
Yeah.
The queen responds that she will find her way back. She always does. And the princess at this point has tears in her eyes. So, I don't know. We don't really know a lot from this scene. I guess it was designed to build suspense.
Yeah. That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, looking back, you can obviously get a lot more out of it, but we're not there.
No. Skip to Chaol's point of view. He is on a hunting expedition with the king and some of the king's buddies. And I guess the king sort of slows down to talk to him, and the king says that he is going to be questioning Nehemia later, so have guards ready. Because remember, we said that the king is who notified Dorian, or who notified Chaol of this like plot to have her killed. So he's sort of trying to keep Chaol in the loop. So I guess he tells him this. Then all of a sudden, Dorian sort of rides up, and Dorian then says, like, I wish you and Celaena well. And he's sort of like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Which is the reason we didn't want you to keep it from him.
Anyway, he does admit it. So he didn't plan on telling Celaena about the meeting that the king was going to have with Nehemia later. He says that he knows the king wouldn't hurt Nehemia because she's too much of a public figure. And like the same way he felt like he couldn't tell Celaena about the threat against him.
Yep.
Anyway, so he says he felt guilty about it, but he knew that like her knowing about it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't have made a difference.
It's easy to say before events happen.
Yeah. So yeah, so he says he already knew that like he would never betray Celaena, and like about the whole fact that she's not killing the king's like targets. And he says that he would rather kill himself than hurt her. So like he is deep in the feels. He's already thinking of like what marriage and kids with her would be like. Like he's already thinking of how he's going to introduce her to his family as his wife, and how his dad's not going to approve of her, but like he doesn't care, and like thinking about them being in their little house like with all their children. And I'm like, whoa, dude, slow down.
Also, she's running the fuck away. Didn't she already tell him that?
Yeah. Anyway, like she's only 18. He needs to calm the fuck down.
True.
Anyway, so like I guess I don't know, it wasn't super clear at this point, like so they were hunting, and then I guess they've made their way back at this point, and he's like walking to his room or something like that. When all of a sudden somebody grabs him from behind and drugs him with, I don't want to call it chloroform, but it's exactly like chloroform.
Yeah.
But it's not named. But they drug him with this drug just as he's thinking of Celaena. And like I feel like this is one of those moments when he needs to be sharper, and their relationship is causing him to go dumb.
Yeah. It must be the next day though, because in the next scene, Celaena wakes up and she's happy that Chaol isn't in bed with her because she's too worn out for running or sex. So obviously she has no idea that he was drugged and dragged off.
No, I'm thinking it was like a day.
Or she'd be more worried. But anyway, she gets a list of names from Archer, and this time it is in code. And she just kind of hopes that he hasn't warned all of them again. Nehemia doesn't show up for a lesson on word marks, which I guess kind of makes sense because they had a fight, I guess, the day before. And Celaena doesn't really want to deal with like her rebellion talk anyway. And she is kind of just like, I'll deal with that later. But she also realizes that she can't use word marks to get through the door in the library if she doesn't talk to Nehemia. But she says that can wait.
Like, would you even call what they did a fight? Because that was pretty extreme. Like, she was literally, oh my god, she was literally she was literally like, don't come crying to me when all of your family is dead. Like, to me, that's like a little bit extra, like a little more than a fight.
Yeah, it is very intense. But she's probably right that they both need cooling down time because, like, it's a lot. But yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a fight. Maybe something bigger than a fight. So Celaena, I guess, spends the whole day out stalking the men on Archer's list. And she wants to talk to Chaol, but he doesn't show up for supper. So she just eats by herself. By 10 that night, she starts to worry and goes out to look for him. And all she can think about is how Sam was like also her equal, and he died the most gruesome death that she's ever seen. So she's like starting to get some anxiety about him not being around. And like, she isn't wrong. Somebody actually did grab him. And like, was that the night before or that morning? Like, I don't remember.
It was the night. It was the night before.
Yeah. Okay.
So it seems like he's been missing for about 24 hours, we could say.
Yeah.
Or actually might have been not even the night. It might have been the afternoon before.
Yeah, because it was like after he went hunting.
After hunting.
Yeah.
So it could have been like supper time even.
Yeah. So it's a long time, really, to be missing. So
Mm.
he could really be dead. But
He was all distracted with the thoughts of marriage and kids to an 18-year-old.
ugh, let's not, and let's say we didn't. um, she says when they took Sam, it was to get at her. So she kind of worries that like the same thing could be happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets to his bedroom, she sees a sealed note addressed to her on top of his sword. And she knows that that wasn't there in the morning.
How does she know that? She didn't see him that morning.
Did she wake up in his bed? Maybe I
That'd be
don't. I
weird.
don't understand the timeline because it was right after he was like. It was right after hunting and like.
Mm-hmm. So he was just gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. Maybe she slept in his room.
But which is weird because you would think he would have at least gone back there to sleep.
Yeah.
If he wasn't kidnapped.
But we think he was likely kidnapped. So I don't know.
No, yes. But I mean, like, if. Okay, so say if, hypothetically, she does sleep in his room that night.
Yes.
Wouldn't she be weirded out that he didn't come back to the room? Because she doesn't know that he was kidnapped.
Yes.
So, like, if she was sleeping in his room, wouldn't she have been alerted to him being missing a lot earlier? Because she'd be like, oh, he didn't come back to the room last night.
Yes.
Huh, that's not like him. Like,
yeah, it is weird.
So she couldn't have slept in his room last night.
No.
But then that means she must have gone by that morning. I guess
I guess she might have popped in to be like, hey, you didn't drop by for the run. And then she was probably like, oh, he's busy.
Yeah. Okay.
But the weird thing is, the note wasn't there when she was there in the morning. So if they did take him the afternoon before, then they waited 24 hours before leaving a note. But that's like sneaking into the castle twice. That seems really risky.
I guess if they could do it once, they could do it again.
Yeah.
And the second time around, all they're doing is bringing a note. They don't have to try and get a body out of there.
That's true. Man, how did they even do that? Like, the guards must be shit.
Chaol, you're falling down on your job. He's just terrible at his job.
Literally falling down at his job.
But
so dumb. So she looks at the note and it says, "We have the captain. When you're sick of stalking us, come find us here." And there's an address to a warehouse in the slums. So like maybe they brought it to her after she was stalking them this afternoon based on the way that was written.
But she's been stalking them for a little while.
She has, but it's just, I don't understand the timeline.
Anyway. Maybe they waited until she was like out and about.
Yeah, to bring it in.
She wasn't in the castle.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. And of course it says like, bring no one, and if she doesn't come, he'll die. And she says, or she kind of thinks that every one of the restraints she has put into place after she rampaged in Endovir snaps free. And it's something that she calls the killing calm, like washes over her. So
it's terrifying.
It is very scary the way that this is described in all of the books, basically. Like, she is a force to be reckoned with.
She is terrifying.
Yes. So we jump over to Chaol's point of view, and he is chained up and he has a headache.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't laugh.
Sounds like a terrible night out.
Yeah, I really shouldn't laugh, but he's been beaten up a bit, which isn't great.
Good pudding.
Yes. And there are like people there, obviously, that are waiting for Celaena to show up. And he says they're all wearing long robes and hoods. So he doesn't even know who these people are or what they want. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely weird for him. But then he kind of realizes that it seems like they're waiting for something. And he listens to some of the things they're saying and finally hears something helpful. and it's an argument, and like somebody's like, we should release him, and I guess eventually the king would probably notice he's missing. But he hears one of them say that she has until dawn, and he knows there's only one she who would show up for him, which is sweet.
I love that it's her rescuing him.
Me too. I absolutely adore it. But he says, you hurt her and I'll rip you apart with my bare hands. To like,
how?
Yeah, to like 30 of them in this room. And he says, you so much as touch her and I'll gut you. And like, I appreciate it because he's afraid for her, and that's what this is, which is sweet. But I'm also like, dude, you need to worry about yourself right now.
Yeah, but at the same time too, like, he had trouble after he killed one terrible person that was trying to kill her.
Yeah, and to save her life, like actively trying to kill her. But now, if somebody touches a whisker on her head, I don't know, she doesn't have whiskers. Yeah.
I was thinking a whisker on her chinny chin, but then
I know, but I was like, she doesn't have whiskers. She's too vain for that. Anyway, so there's a man there who has two swords across his back, and Chaol kind of thinks like this is a guy who had beat him up earlier. Just tells him good luck, and I'm like, he's not wrong. There's not much Chaol can do. Yeah. Chaol does plan to kill Archer for getting Celaena tangled up with these men, and I'm like, what? She's gonna kill him. Also, with what happens later in the book with his feelings towards Archer, makes me want to punch him in the face. But anyway, that's for a later time.
Yeah.
Chaol tells the man there that he has no idea who he's dealing with. And he laughs and says, if you were that good, you wouldn't be here. And Chaol responds, I wasn't talking about me. And I love that.
Yeah. If he could say one thing right this entire book, it's that.
Exactly. I fucking love it. It is amazing. But then the man responds, she's just one girl. And like, you don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. So we jump back to Celaena's point of view, and she is pissed. She's thinking like her rage is wild and no one will survive this. And she's like packing herself up and getting ready to go, and she's like, she thinks like, I'll arrive alone, but I will not arrive unarmed. And she like takes every weapon she can put her hands on. Like she even takes Chaol's sword, and I'm like, she is deadly.
Mm-hmm.
She says she gets to the warehouse and it's silent, but there's nobody on the roof. And she does start to like have a bit of a flashback from when Sam had died. And like, it really like seems like she has a bit of PTSD from it. Because I'm pretty sure when he died, she also went through a window, and that's when she was caught and then basically brought to the king. And then that's why she was sent to Endovia. But she's basically doing the same thing here. She sees an open window and she can kind of see inside. So she knows like she can kind of see a bit better that it's not just a trap.
Yeah.
But dramatic entrances are really her thing. So she just like dives through the window and just like throws out 2 daggers and kills 2 people before anybody notices that she's even there.
Which is so amazing, but also terrible on their part. Like they should have had sentries set up.
Yeah, they should have had somebody on the roof, like, yeah.
Outside the building. Like they should have had people around.
Mm-hmm. They're really not smart. Like they know that she's Adarlin's assassin. Like she's clearly good. Anyway.
It's like the theme of the book. Everybody underestimates her all the time.
Yes, that's very true. We switch back to Chaol's point of view, and he's just watching as 2 more daggers find 2 other archers. and she gets to the floor and draws two swords and unleashes herself on them. And he finally sees the lethal predator he expected to see in Endovier. And I'm like, good. I'm glad he's like finally like realizing that she is a force. One of the hooded men starts yelling that like that's enough, like stop killing everybody. But she I know, but she just won't listen. Like this is so dumb because they really did bring this on themselves. Like, what did they think was going to happen? They threatened her and her
Yeah.
people.
And
Like,
him.
exactly. Um, the guard with the two swords stands his ground, even though like everybody else is dying. But the man calling for them to stop kind of gets in between them, and he says there are worse things we have to face. And Celaena says, "No, there aren't, because I'm here now." Which is like,
I just love her so much.
that line is iconic.
It's amazing.
She's a queen.
Yeah. I am
She
here for Celaena, Slayer of everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I bet she's a dragon slayer. Are there dragons in this world?
I don't know. I just think she slays everybody.
Well, she does in this warehouse. So she keeps the fight going, but then she hears her name from a familiar voice, and Archer is yelling to her, and he like steps in front of somebody who's like shot an arrow and takes an arrow in the shoulder to save her. And I hate it. But he faces her, protecting the men from her, and he tells her like, this is a misunderstanding. But she sees he's wearing a robe like everyone else there, and she knows that he set her up, and she is like merging this night with the night that Sam died again, and she is beyond pissed off.
Yeah, of course she is.
Oh my god, obviously. Archer tries to talk to her, but she just says, unchain him. And she tells Archer he has one sentence to convince her not to kill them all. I guess him included.
Mm-hmm.
Archer says that he has been working with Nehemia to lead these people for the last 6 months. And they have been leading the movement together to gather a force and go into Terrasen and figure out what the king is actually doing. So obviously the king of Adarlan, not Terrasen. But their force, I guess, is going into Terrasen to look for the heir or figure out an army or something. But that was his one sentence. She doesn't want to believe it, but she thinks of like Nehemia not researching the riddle from Davis's office for her and like being away often, like that time Dorian was trying to find her. So she's like, what else would she be doing if she wasn't actually like in town leading a rebellion? Why was she missing so often? Archer says that like she came to this group and like I guess says that Nehemia told them all the information that Celaena had confided in her.
Wait, what's it again?
Yeah, I don't think that made sense in my brain. So Archer says that Nehemia told them everything that Celaena told her. So I'm guessing that she told him that Celaena's not killing people, which is not great for Celaena.
But I mean, Archer knew that anyway.
Yeah, he probably could. Yeah, tell because she wasn't going to kill him. But she could have thought he could have thought it was like just a one-off that like we used to be friends. I don't want to kill you.
Maybe.
So Celaena's kind of like, oh, if that's true, like if she's helping lead this, then where is she? And Archer tells her that she should ask him, and like points towards Chaol. And Archer then says his sources told him over a week ago that the king told Chaol about the threat to Nehemia's life, and they took Chaol to find out like what he knew. Which I'm like, is that even true? Like, did they even ask him anything? I don't know if that's even true.
Yeah, I don't know.
But who knows? But Archer says it isn't questioning that the king is going to be doing tonight, apparently, because the king told Chaol that he wanted to question Nehemia.
Which I just like, I will be fair and say, I don't understand what like, and I know we literally just discussed it, but I still don't understand. Like, so the king is worried that someone's going to kill Nehemia. Worried in quotation marks.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, there's a threat on her life. And he's worried she's going to turn it into like a martyrdom situation. Right?
Yeah.
So what is he questioning her about? Why is he like interrogating her? Why is he making her to be the bad guy? Like, I understand he's a bad guy, so like, yeah, I get it in terms of his actual motivations. I just mean, how is he justifying this as an actual thing in real life? Like, how is he justifying this to Chaol in a way for Chaol to accept it?
Yeah. I wonder if he's just like, I'm going to question her about what she's doing outside of the castle to see why she has people trying to kill her. Like, if she's there under the king's protection, really nobody who's loyal to him should want to kill her, type thing, I guess. But I don't know. It is a bit sketch. But then I'm also like, who's Archer's informant?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would probably have to be a guard of some sort.
Or is it the person that it is later? Anyway, onwards and upwards. Celaena then asks him where Nehemia is, and Archer basically just says sorry with tears in his eyes. And in like basically a deja vu moment from a few minutes before, she goes tearing through the streets to get to her friend before it's too late. And she's running faster than like physically makes sense. She jumps over the castle wall instead of going through like the gates because she doesn't want to be stopped. And she's just like, I'm going to get to Nehemia's room. I'm going to lock her up and I'll just wait for whoever is coming and I will deal with them.
Smart.
Exactly. Which, like, kind of makes me think if the king came in, I think she would have fucking killed him then and there too. Like, she's very protective of people after she's lost so much and so many.
For sure.
As she sprints into, like, I guess, an entrance, she knows the guards are going to notice her, and she actually sees that Dorian is there, and she didn't expect to see him, but she doesn't stop. Obviously, she just keeps on running, and she just thinks like, not again, never again. And I know it's so sad. The door to Nehemia's room, though, is shut with no signs of forced entry, so she's like a bit relieved, and she explodes through the locks, but there's blood everywhere. Her guards are on the floor with their throats slit and their internal organs spilling, and Nehemia's body is on the bed and just broken. It's like, it's too late. She's already dead. So now it's part 2 of the book, which is called The Queen's Arrow, which is interesting. So people rush in after Celaena because obviously they saw her running through the castle and were like, wait, she can't just do that. Where's she going?
Yeah.
And Celaena thinks that she like smells vomit, but she can barely notice it because she's just staring at Nehemia and spiraling. And she just can think like, when Nehemia needed her most, she wasn't there, and now she's dead. Dorian stands in front of her, kind of like trying to block Nehemia's body and like make her feel better, comfort her, calm her down,
shield her a little bit.
Yeah. He has tears on his face, and she like kind of reaches out to touch them, and then someone behind her says her name, and all she can think is, they did this. and her fingers slide down Dorian's face. And then Chaol says her name again. And she just thinks like Chaol knew that something could happen and didn't tell her. So then she launches herself at Chaol, and she swipes at his face, and she like feels deep marks go into it as she like claws him with her fingernails, which is insanely vicious, really.
Yeah. Like she gouges out like channels in his face.
Yeah. And like I think it ends up being like 4 long lines. I'm like, Jesus. He throws her to the ground and tells his guards to stay back, but she's still fighting him. And we're in his point of view, and he thinks like the Celaena he knows isn't looking at him.
Yeah.
Ugh. And
but like, I agree with you. I just want to say ugh because this bothers me because like just because it's not the like sweet girl who can be loving and who's protective and who likes music and planning romantic dates and who likes nice things, just because she's more than those things, just because she can be brutal and vicious and like angry as all get out, that doesn't mean it's not her.
Yeah.
Like that's still her.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is sort of just like another reason why Chaol's not ideal for her.
Yeah. He doesn't understand her multitudes.
Yeah, like she's a multifaceted person who is capable of a lot of shit, good and bad. And it's like he's it's like he's trying to excuse the bad because she suffered and had to deal with so much shit in her life. So like he's almost trying to like excuse it, but then
yeah. And he was like, he could tell a difference in her before, but now it's like she's gone too far even for him, and he doesn't recognize her. And it's just like he's not a strong enough man for her.
No,
that's it.
He's not.
Celaena ends up flipping him and has her dagger like going to his heart, but he grabs her wrist, stopping her. And he kind of just finally realizes like she wants to kill him right now. He tells her he is her friend, and she responds, "You will never be my friend. You will always be my enemy."
Far cry from Marriage and Babies.
Right? Which was like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And she starts to push harder on the dagger, and he like loses his grip a bit, and she's like literally about to stab him, and her hand stops, and there's a chill in the room, and she looks up and hisses at somebody, which is interesting. I think by now we all know that it's Dorian, because he had that punching wall incident with the icy ice stuff. Yeah.
But like, who hisses at people unless you're like a snake?
Yeah. I feel like she's like feral in this moment, other than the fact that she did say like, "You will always be my enemy." That's very composed for somebody who's then hissing at somebody.
Yeah.
Rhys then slams the pommel of his sword into her head and knocks her out. So probably a good thing. I don't think the king would keep her in his employ if she killed the captain of the guard. I don't know why I cannot remember captain every time. Anyway, we jump over to Dorian's point of view, and he's with Chaol, and they like are bringing Celaena to the dungeons, and he wants to give her his cloak, but Chaol says no, he doesn't trust her with anything in there.
Which is brutal.
Oh, 100%.
Like brutal. Like you're not even going to give her a blanket? Like it's probably freezing down there.
I would say. Yeah.
Like, remember Kaltain was down there and Celaena gave her cloak.
Yeah.
Because it was so cold.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely brutal. But like, I don't even think he's doing it because of what she just did. I literally think he's like, if we give her a cloak, she'll get out of here. I think he's literally just that, like, that scared of her abilities, basically. Dorian is thinking about how he's the one that stopped Celaena from killing Chaol, but he thinks, like, luckily he thinks that it was only her that noticed it.
Yeah. The chill.
Yeah. And Chaol then tells Dorian about, like, what had happened that night. Like, he was kidnapped and then she came in, and he also tells him that he's never seen anyone move like she did. He said he found a horse within seconds of her leaving, and she still got to the castle before him. So, like, she can outrun a horse. Which sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, but, like, I feel like, knowing what we know, it's, like...
Yeah.
But
she's been training.
Yeah, she's been training for so long. She can have superhuman speed.
Yes.
Horse speed, even.
Horse speed. Super horse speed. Is that where horse speed comes from?
You mean horsepower?
Yeah.
We know cars.
Whatever it is. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dorian tells Chaol that he dined with his parents that night, so, like, the king couldn't have killed Nehemia himself. I'm like, obviously. Like, he never would have killed Nehemia by himself anyway.
No, he wouldn't have gotten his hands dirty.
No. But his father did say that he would be talking to Nehemia later. And I'm just like, I feel like that's an alibi.
Yeah. Like, I don't plan to kill her. I just want to talk to her later. So obviously I'm not going to kill her before I talk to her.
Yeah. Chaol says whoever did this got a sick delight out of it. And, like, the bodies were artfully arranged. So... very
Yikes.
gross.
Did, like, entrails and everything.
Yeah. Not good. Dorian asks how long Chaol's gonna, like, keep her down there, and he says as long as it takes for her to decide not to kill them all. And
valid point.
It is, but I'm just like, she is such a fucking badass. Oh god.
I know. Anyway. It is hard to think about much else. Like, he's literally, like, worried she's gonna kill a castle full of people.
Mm-hmm. And I think if she woke up out of this cell, she probably would have.
Yeah.
We jump back to Celaena's point of view, and she's kind of thinking, like, this is so similar to the last time she ended up, like, here after snapping. And she was so close to killing the person she wanted to then, but she woke up in a dungeon. And it's the same kind of loss. So obviously the first time was Sam, and she had gone to kill Rourke Farron. And then this time, at the beginning, she thought she was going to lose Chaol. But then she did lose Nehemia, and she decided, I guess, that it was Chaol's fault because he didn't tell her. And I don't think it's 100% his fault, but I also do understand where she's coming from. But anyway, she then tried to kill him because of it, which she's just kind of broken now, which is very sad. Kaltain is awake in this next cell over, and she says she always knew Celaena would end up here, and she asks if the Royal Highness is tired of her, but Celaena says that she tired of them. And Kaltain asks if she killed anyone deserving, and she just answers almost. Yeah, like, we literally just went from sex in closets to
I hate your guts and want you dead.
Yeah, I'm actively trying to kill you at all times. She thinks if she sees Chaol again, she will kill him. So that is very intense. She's kind of thinking of Nehemia's body and like how it was arranged, and she knows like this wasn't the king, which is interesting because like above I was like, that seems like an alibi thing. So anyway, Celaena doesn't think it was the king, and she
No.
says, Celaena tells Kaltain that they killed Nehemia, and Kaltain kind of answers that Duke Parenting is going to Morath in 5 days, and she's going with him, and that like she was told she can either marry him or rot down here. So I guess she's going to Morath to marry him in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Celaena asks why the Duke would want her after she betrayed him, but she just responds like her headaches and the wings are worse. And Celaena starts to think of Nehemia saying her dreams are full of shadows and wings. So there's something going on.
Yeah, there's something to these dreams. And we sort of got that anyway, because Kaltain was like really, she was hard up there last book.
Yeah.
Like she was always having headaches. And same thing now. Like you imagine having a headache and like it just never goes away.
No.
You'd be mad. Like you'd be like driven mad, which is sort of what she is.
Yeah. Yeah. Celaena is in a really bad place right now. She doesn't really care if they execute her or like leave her down there to like die. Nehemia was the hope of a kingdom of this world, and her last words to Celaena were calling her a coward. So she's really, really spiraling here because like Nehemia was the hope of her nation and is dead, and that's a blow in and of itself. But then Nehemia also called her a coward in their last conversation, and like that's really cutting her up inside.
Yeah. I think that if she had died while they had been on good terms, I don't think she would have been this spirally.
No, I don't think so either. I think she still would have tried to kill Chaol.
Yes.
But I don't think like this whole thing would happen.
No.
Kaltain finally says, like, if they let you out, make sure they are punished one day, every last one of them. And Celaena just swears that they will be. Then she like pulls some food towards her, and Kaltain tells her like the food is drugged, and she says good and swallows it down. So basically 3 days pass with her being drugged from the food, because like we just said, she spiraled and she can't process, so she would just prefer to be drugged and sleep through it.
Yeah, but like it's not going to help at all. Like she's just going to wake up and feel it, you know,
after. Yeah. She kind of thinks how she's like dreaming while awake and asleep of a barren land where there was once like green and then a forest and a stag, and now it's barren, which I just said. But anyway.
Yeah. It was like green and lush and there was a forest and it was like beautiful, and now it's like stripped bare and like dead.
Yeah. And there's a stag there, which I think we talked about the stag earlier.
Yeah, it's a symbol of Terracin.
Exactly. So like I interpreted this to kind of be like Nehemia was the hope that the king wouldn't conquer everything and take all of the beauty out of the world. And now she's envisioning Terracin like barren because of the king, is kind of how I saw it.
I didn't really, and like I probably should have. I didn't really account for Nehemia at all in that dream. Like I know I should have, because obviously it's related to her death. But like I just saw like in my head the barren land where there was once green, forest, and a stag. It just indicates that Terracin is in ruin.
Yeah,
and like needs to be revived.
Yeah.
So that I can thrive and flourish once more.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of the same thing. It's just my brain was like, I literally think her biggest issue now is she thought Nehemia was the only person that could stop the king, and now
Right.
she's gone.
Right.
And then also the words "you are nothing more than a coward" are just like incessantly playing in her head, which is not healthy. Um, so there's definitely something else there too. But anyway, the fourth day that she's down there, she's unconscious, and Chaol comes to get her. He thinks of like the days and the pandemonium since Nehemia's death, and the king not dismissing him for being so shit at his job and having been kidnapped, which are like, yeah, realistically,
Yeah.
the king probably
Yeah.
should
But like
have.
how long has Chaol been shit at his job? Like it seems like he's been shitty for a long time. And
Yeah,
the king probably liked it that way cuz again, he could do his like little secret dealings.
yeah, exactly. And like
So,
realistically, like Kale should have had people on that door so that nobody could get in. And like, did he even have people there? Are some of his guards dead now? Like, I don't understand.
mm,
He kind of thinks like the king seems smug that Nehemia is dead and he didn't have to do it himself. So like, I I guess the king didn't have a hand in this at all. Um, and apparently the king just told him to get Celaena in line and wasn't even surprised that she tried to kill Chaol. So it kind of makes you wonder if like the king was like, this will drive a wedge between them if he doesn't tell her,
yeah.
and like something happens. So anyway, Kale can't forgive himself for throwing Celaena in the cell, so he had to sleep on the couch the whole time she was down there because he felt bad.
No, the poor baby had to sleep on a couch while she slept in a dungeon.
I know.
Oh, he should have
I'm
slept on the
like,
fucking floor.
exactly. The couch is still comfortable.
Oh, the muffin.
Yeah,
Like, he's a dick.
yeah. And he kind of thinks to himself he doesn't know how to fix her, and he knows like she's broken and so are they, as like a relationship are
Yeah.
clearly broken. And he also realizes like he should have told her about Nehemia, and he should have fucking told Nehemia, so that they could both have been at least on the lookout. So he feels a lot of guilt over her death, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
I
like,
I don't put it all on him at all.
no. I think part of the issue is that he was still trying to retain some sense of authority and independence in his work life
Mm-hmm.
and not have Celaena sort of overwhelm everything about who he is and what he's been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what it's like when you're in a new relationship, you literally pour everything you have into that relationship. And not that you disappear as a person, but like everything that made you who you were, you almost like give up in favor of this new
Yeah.
relationship. And I feel like this was sort of his one tether to like who he was before Celaena came in and like just completely altered everything about his world.
Yeah.
And so like I don't think it was correct
Mm-hmm.
because he had a famous assassin slash like spy person like that he was sleeping with that he could have gotten insight from.
Yeah.
But I also can see why he did what he did.
Yes. And I can too. Like, especially if the king says, these are your orders, don't tell anybody. I understand him
Yeah.
not telling anybody. But
That doesn't fact that doesn't factor into my decision at all
no,
because
but
I'm such a busybody and I
that's fair. But I can see why he also feels some guilt. And like obviously hindsight is 2020. Like you're gonna realize, oh, if I had have told both the girls, maybe they could have been prepared. So
yeah.
he also had kind of a realization that he's lost Celaena and she will never let him in again. So like that's sad too. Um
Good riddance.
Well, yeah. That's how I feel, but he's sad.
Don't care.
Celaena wakes up in her bed and she's clean, and Fleetfoot is there. And all she can think is like how much Fleetfoot loved Nehemia too, like how much everybody did. Um, she stays in bed that day and the next day. And she hears that while she was in the dungeon, she missed Nehemia's funeral, which is devastating.
Yeah. It's
And
probably
I
the
think,
worst bit, actually.
yeah, I think that like does not help the spiral she's having. Then we get a new point of view. It's a slave girl in Calacola, and she is mining, and she's been there like 6 months longer than anyone else in her family. Her mother, grandmother, and little brother hadn't lasted a month, and her father didn't even make it to the mines before he was murdered. And she knows that like she'll see Eelway again because she's listened to her father and the rebels plan ways to fight the king, and she's heard of Nehemia infiltrating the king's castle and working for their freedom. So she knows like it'll be fine as long as I just make it through like this day and then the next day. Eventually Nehemia is gonna save her. Well, all of them, yes. So she says the overseer is just watching them all, waiting for somebody to fail so he can whip them. And then she feels the ripple before she hears the news. And I guess everybody in the mines are like whispering to each other. And it gets to her, and she hears Princess Nehemia is dead, assassinated by Otterlin. And she just turns with the pickaxe and faces the overseer, and her head just screams like this is enough, and she silently names her dead, and she adds her name to the list and swings it into the overseer's gut.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting like point of view change that this book had, to go to a random character and just have that put in there, because it really does show the impact Nehemia as a character had and the impact that her death had on her people. But it's also a really sad place to end, obviously.
Yes.
But that is where we end this week. If you do want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in any of our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions, you can email us at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com. And be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Coffee and Co-Read.
So next week we'll be picking this up and seeing how Celaena deals with Nehemia's death by discussing chapters 34 to 43 of Crown of Midnight. So make sure to follow along. And if you're enjoying our little chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you find content. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you on the next page.